Greetings. I'm Terry Rhodes, Vice President for Quality Curriculum and Assessment at the Association of American Colleges and Universities. We welcome you to the fifth in our series of Next Generation Assessment WebBite interviews with the leaders of each of the 7 regional accrediting bodies in the United States. We asked each leader what they have been hearing from their member campuses during the pandemic, related to 2 critical areas: the campus climate for assessment on those campuses, and what expectations the accreditors have for useful evidence of student learning going forward. Here we speak with Sonny Ramaswamy from the Northwest Commission of Colleges and Universities.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tammie Cumming. I'm the Associate Provost and Assistant Vice President for Institutional Effectiveness at Brooklyn College of the City, University of New York. I'm co-hosting today where we're going to talk about next generation assessment from the accreditor point of view.
Hi, I'm David Miller from the University of Florida, where I'm a professor in research and evaluation methods and the director of the School of Human Development and Organizational Studies in Education. And we're pleased today to have with us Sonny Ramaswamy from the Northwest Commission on Colleges and Universities.
Yeah, good morning, Dr. Cumming and Dr. Miller. Thank you so much for having me here this morning to have this important conversation about next generation assessment and as it relates to accreditation as well. I bring you greetings from beautiful Redmond, Washington. I am the president of the Northwest Commission on Colleges and Universities. I've been a professor, and I also worked in the Obama administration and finished out in the Trump administration.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you taking the time. And with next generation assessment, I mean, we saw institutions turn on a dime and move their programs to an online learning environment. We're really trying to get a handle on the pulse of what's going on out there. Can you tell us the reaction of accreditation in this new era in education, and with particularly, we're interested in assessment?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for that really important question, Tammie. You know, you're absolutely right. Back in January, and when we're seeing the beginnings of the COVID-19 situation, and it was already, you know, out and about around us, we've learned now. And in late February, we, my commission and my cohorts and the other commissions, accrediting commissions as well, we reached out to the Department of Education to find out if we can get some flexibility, because we're very, very concerned about the health situation of our, you know, institutions on campuses and our own staff and accreditors and as accreditors and our, you know, evaluators as well. So we got what we refer to as flexibilities from the Department of Education that allowed us to go ahead and approve online delivery of educational programs by the colleges and universities. Incidentally, we have approximately 162 universities and colleges in our family of institutions. So we went ahead and sent them the approval, and we also went ahead and sent a questionnaire as to what they were planning on doing. Were they going to make some changes in the modes of delivery? Were they going to make some changes in their programs, in the educational content, and how they're going to assess? And when I say assess, I'm not only talking about the immediacy of the assessment using quizzes and tests and things like that, but also the student learning outcomes and assessments. And were they going to incorporate any special you know, approaches to actually determining that indeed the students are getting the kind of learnings that they need to be getting in the classes as well. So we got back, I was very impressed that we had well over 90% of the institutions actually responded to the questionnaire itself. And with that information, we learned that at least in the immediacy as institutions were getting ready to start deploying and things like that, that they, you know, hadn't really given it a lot of thought to what was going to happen in terms of the assessment and all that. They said, well, you know, we're just using a different modality to deliver the education program. You know, where we were in the classroom, now we're switching over to this, you know, alternative modality of being online. And some said to me also that, you know, midstream, they're going to probably have to make some changes and then go ahead and figure out kinds of questions to incorporate in measuring the student learning outcomes themselves in terms of the assessment. And that started out, and then we, as an organization, went to our commissioners and had them approve and pass a resolution that we could go ahead and undertake virtual evaluation visits for the spring. Our spring season was going to come on as well. We're the first commission on, amongst the, what we refer to today as institutional accreditors. We're the first ones out of the chute to undertake virtual evaluations as well. So these two things, came together, and then we ran another survey right about the month of end of April or so. We ran another survey as well, where we wanted to know, well, what have you done? Are there special specific questions that you've incorporated into our assessment and things like that? So there were some changes made, and what we learned in these surveys that we did was that about 2/3 of the institutions had indeed incorporated additional questions in regards to assessment itself and additional evaluative approaches and things like that as well. We also asked the question, are you going to have any changes or special approaches to evaluating the teaching itself, the process of teaching itself, the pedagogical aspects of teaching itself? And about 1/3 to about 40% or so said that they were going to incorporate that. And then the others said they were going to suspend it. They were not, because of the situation they were, seeing, they were going to suspend it as well. So the short answer to your question, and I gave a really long answer because you need the context as well, is that indeed the institutional faculty and staff and administrators are very, very cognizant of the need to ensure that you needed to incorporate appropriate approaches to measuring outcomes.
I think that's very interesting. It sounds like you've got a lot of work going on there and a lot of things that you've done. Let me ask the follow-up question, which is, once they start changing, it sounds like they're changing methods where necessary and making lots of good changes in there. But I guess, does that somehow alter the role of assessment as we move forward? Or do you think that it's really just a change of method and the basic role of assessment will remain the same?
Yeah, so David, thank you. That question is something that we've been having conversations about, my staff and I, and with our commissioners as well. And we've been, by the way, offering various types of workshops and things like that. And we've sought the help of people like Jillian Kinsey and others that are helping us. And these workshops that we've offered are in regards to persistence and completion on the one hand, and then also in terms of assessment. We refer to these workshops as assessment essentials, by the way. Mm-hmm. And so we have been doing this even prior to the COVID-19 situation. And what we've been seeing is that the COVID-19 situation has actually presented us an opportunity to rethink assessment itself as well. That we need to be much more purposeful in the kinds of questions that are asked, the kinds of metrics that we're going to be utilizing. And therefore the workshops and the training and that we offer is also becoming, has morphed now. And so I think what it's done, there's, as you may know, being campus-based administrators or faculty, that there is this community of professors that doesn't really see value in assessment. In fact, I've been on campuses and I was a professor myself. And if I ask somebody, what do you think assessment is? They say, oh yeah, I do assessment. I have quizzes and exams and all that. And then I say, well, how do you know that your students have actually learned something? And they say, really? I'm supposed to do that too? And these are the kinds of conversations we've had previously. But I think what the COVID-19 situation has done, because we're offering these courses in a remote sort of a situation where you're not able to gather that immediacy of that feedback and the body language and things like that, there's a rethinking of this whole issue of assessment itself. And so I think this is going to have a longer term impact on how we view collectively assessment and why we should care about it and why we should care to actually undertake it appropriately and incorporate that as the feedback into the courses that we're developing and deploying as well.
I'm really happy to hear you say that. I know when resources are tight and everyone was moving quickly to accommodate the learning environment, when the COVID pandemic hit us, There were some who thought maybe we shouldn't put the resources towards things like assessment right now, but that's a very different message that you're saying, and actually that we're getting out of our central City University of New York central office. They are emphasizing it is more important, perhaps more now than ever, to make sure that we have the data so that we can make data-informed decisions regarding the student learning, because this is new for so many of us. So I'm really happy to hear that. And I think I'm hearing you say you think that assessment, the role of assessment will actually increase moving forward.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, so if you look at the Northwest Commission's vision statement and things like that, we believe in continuous process improvement, and that the accreditation process itself needs to take that sort of an approach. And education is a continuous improvement when you get right down to it. And so assessment can't stand alone by itself and, you know, think something's sitting in a vacuum, that something somehow happens someplace, but it needs to morph as well as we go forward, and the different types of delivery mechanisms and things like that that we've got. And it's got to go ahead and continuously improve as well. And there will be such continuous improvements that we're going to see.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. It's been excellent.
Well, thanks again so much for joining us, and we look forward to next time, everyone.